Designing my own homebrew Successor chapter wasn't something I thought I would be doing so soon after joining the hobby. I'm even more surprised that I chose the color orange as the main color for the Melting Suns. The Melting Suns will focus on using fire and other flame-based methods to purify and melt away the corruption of the warp. This mini was more of a proof of concept. I thought about using the color orange, but I wasn't so sure of it. I had used a few online paint scheme creators, but I needed to see it in person to really decide if I wanted to continue with this idea. So I started with the zenithal highlight and then base coated with lava orange. In my experience with oil painting, I was aware that different pigments had different levels of transparency, but I just didn't think to apply that to acrylic paints. So by using basic color theory, I used red as the shadows instead of black. The red has better coverage and would not desaturate the orange that I was trying to maintain. Desaturating color or using black or whites have their place in painting, but that's not what I wanted to do. I'm still not the best when it comes to airbrushing, so I accidentally sprayed too much red over the mini. So then I decided to go over it with some yellow and give it a transition between that red-orange to an orange, and then finally to a yellow to give it a sunburst effect, matching the fire theme of my homebrew. And then I immediately ruined all of the vibrancy I had just worked so hard to maintain by completely covering this mini with way too much black wash. I'm still very new when it comes to properly using washes, and I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and I'm not going to get better if I don't make mistakes. So I decided to go back over and reestablish the base coat by painting on orange, but this paint had such bad coverage that I decided that instead of painting that I would use a makeup sponge that allowed me to go from red to orange to yellow and bring back that transition, that sunburst effect that I was really trying to build up. After that, I tried a little bit of dry brushing of some yellow on the highlights to really give it a bit more dimension. Honestly, dry brushing is a technique that I just feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. So I decided to move on to just lining. I chose ash gray as my lining color and the color of the Aquila for two reasons. The first one is because gray is a nice neutral color and it was at the same time distinct enough that it looked good. And lore-wise, it's because the Melting Suns will use the ashes of their fallen comrades and paint them on themselves so that they are never forgotten and they are always with them. In the end, this was just way too orange, which was the point in the beginning, of course, but it just felt too orange. So I thought about adding something that would make it a bit more interesting, and that's when the idea of adding a cool color like a purple or a pink, or in this case, this fuchsia color into the shadows to add this really cool transition from that fuchsia pinkish purple all the way up to the almost yellow in the highest points, and it sold the whole thing for me. As soon as that color hit, I was loving this. It went from something that I wasn't very sure about because I didn't like orange to, man, I can't wait to paint a whole army of this. And finally, wanting to have some type of a connection to the Ultramarines, because this is indeed an Ultramarines Successor chapter, I decided to have a cyan and a light blue as the eye color, and I'm also going to use it for small details like the wax purity seals. Instead of being red, theirs will be blue. On the YouTube short of this miniature, somebody actually asked the question of why isn't this a Salamander's Successor chapter? And the reason behind that is because I think it's more interesting as if this is an Ultramarine Successor chapter because they're so different. I wouldn't want to make just a copy of the parent chapter. I want them to be distinct, but that's just my idea. If you enjoy what you saw, please think about subscribing and checking out more of my videos. Thanks for sticking around until the end.